Welcome back, it's me, Lou. Okay, so for today's video, this is going to be another toy haul. The other day, I was shopping at one of my favorite collectible toy stores, and that is Wax Packs Records and Toys, located in Roselle, Illinois. So, if you happen to be in the Chicagoland area, I highly suggest you check this place out. It's awesome. So while I was at the store, I came across these two gems and I had to have them. I got them for very, very reasonable prices, so I couldn't say no. So on our left, we have this awesome Star Wars comic pack. And if you remember, this was something that Hasbro did for a long time. They would include a comic book, and then they would have two figures from the comic book. So what was really cool about this line of comic book 2-packs is that you get two action figures, which, you know, they weren't your standard like Star Wars figures. They wouldn't necessarily fit in with, like, you know, the movie inspired line or the cartoon line. These designs were taken from the comic books, and it was really cool because you'd get really unique figures that you wouldn't normally get. Like over here, we get a Jedi Leia, which is really awesome. I believe it's a completely new sculpt too. And then we also got this cool Darth Vader, which I want to say it might be a reuse because it looks surprisingly a lot like, I want to say the Ralph McQuarrie concept art Vader, but I might be wrong on that. But I love these 2-packs. They're awesome. So in this case, this was based off of Star Wars Infinity's issue, I think issue 4, if I'm reading that correctly. This was... So when this comic book came out, they were celebrating 30 years of Star Wars. That's why there's the 30 here. This comic book in particular was published in 2007 by Dark Horse. As I mentioned earlier, this version of Leia and this version of Vader, this is how they appeared in the comic book. So Star Wars Infinities is kind of like the Star Wars equivalent of like Marvel's What If. You know, they kind of envision scenarios that never came to be, and they present, you know, different stories and different characters or different portrayals of the characters. So in this case, so for this comic, the Infinity series explores tantalizing what-if stories about what might have happened to the Star Wars characters if events had happened differently. In this tale, Princess Leia fulfills Luke Skywalker's dying words: find Master Yoda. Train as a Jedi, go to Dagobah. On the jungle world of Dagobah, Leia is shocked to learn that her father is the evil Darth Vader. Under Yoda's tutelage, Leia becomes a skilled Jedi but faces a final trial. Battle her father in a lightsaber duel and resist his attempts to turn her to the dark side. So that was one of the fun premises about the Star Wars Infinities comic book. You know, very much like Marvel's What If. They take very familiar situations, but then just turn it on its head. So in this case, instead of having Luke training on Dagobah, as seen in The Empire Strikes Back, instead you have Princess Leia fulfilling that task. And here's a shot of both of the action figures. They look neat. Some of the other comic packs at the time, there was Asherad Het versus Dark Woman. And Asherad Het, if I'm saying that correctly, he's the Tusken Raider Jedi, who I believe later becomes Darth Krayt in Star Wars Legacy, I think. And then he takes on, I think, is it Luke's ancestor or descendant? What is it, Cade Skywalker? And over here's the 2-pack that we're looking at. And then here's another 2-pack. This is one, I'm not sure if I have this one. This is from Heir to the Empire. This has Luke and his upcoming bride-to-be, Mara Jade. So yeah, this is a really, really fun 2-pack. And I have these figures loose somewhere in my house. I think they're in the bottom of some bin somewhere. But I do have the comic on hand, so we could look at that very briefly. I'll try to avoid, spoiling the end. So, at the very least, we could at least look at a couple of pages. So here's the cover. As you can see, I'm pretty sure it's the exact same comic book. Unless this one's like missing like the barcode or something. Here's the back. Ad for like Star Wars figures from Hasbro. Alright, so we have Infinities. This was part 4. Alright. Here's Leia training on Dagobah with Master Yoda. And then here we have the looming shadow of Darth Vader. Okay, so this version of Darth Vader looks very standard. This is the very stock looking Darth Vader. Where it's like this one, like I said earlier, this one looks more like concept Darth Vader. You can kind of tell by the front of his mask. He kind of has that elongated snout. Likewise, his body armor is very different. His chest box rests lower on his torso. So yeah, I think this might be the concept Vader. This repurposed for this 2-set, or for this 2-pack. Alright, so let's set this aside and let's take a look at my other purchase. Okay, so over here we have a Spawn figure. This is Widowmaker. And this is from a time period that I'm very fond of. I want to guess this is probably mid to late 90s, I think. Let me check. Yeah, this is 1996. So this is actually Series 5 of Mcfarland's Spawn action figures. And I like this series of figure a lot. This is kind of like before the Mcfarland toys got super crazy in terms of their sculpting and their paint application. Around this period of time, Mcfarland's action figures, the Spawn ones, they still felt like action figures. Because there was a certain point in time when, the focus really became more on the sculpting and the hyper detail. And, eventually they'd create stuff that'd be more so like little statues. Whereas this one was still kind of like an action figure. And this one had 20 points of articulation, which was a lot for that time period. Back during the 90s, it was very common for a lot of toys to still have only like 5 points of articulation. But I'm guessing with this figure, now that I'm looking at it, it seems like a lot of the articulation might be in the wings. Because if you look here, she has these bone wings, and there's various points of articulation. And as I'm examining the actual figure, she looks to be like a 5-pointer. She has her head, it's articulated, her arms, and her legs. So I'm guessing most of the articulation's in her wings. But nonetheless, this is a great looking figure. The sculpting is great. I love the package design. It's very eye-catching. The giant Spawn logo. Alright, so one of the reasons why I bought this action figure in particular isn't necessarily because it's Widowmaker, but I saw that this toy still had the price tag on it. And the price tag is from a store called Venture. I don't know if anyone remembers Venture. They were kind of like a retail chain of stores. They were kind of along the lines of like maybe like a Kmart. And when I saw this price tag on here, my first impulse was, I need to get this because I don't know the next time I'll see a Venture price tag on a toy ever. So Venture was a retail store that we used to have next to my house. And then I used to go there with my buddy JC. We'd look for action figures. And towards the later years of Venture, the place became a mess. It was never cared for. But we'd always go there, and I remember finding like Medieval Spawn. I bought the Medieval Spawn Repaint Adventure. This figure was priced back then for $7.99, which is crazy. So yeah, here's Widowmaker, and on the back, other figures from Series 5. We have Overkill 2, Vandalizer, Viking Spawn, Tremor 2, Widowmaker, and Nuclear Spawn. I love these action figures. They're awesome. And then here's Spawn Series 6, the release date, August 96. That was pretty neat that back then they'd give you like a release date. You know, the figures weren't out yet, but you'd kind of get a sneak preview and then you'd know when to anticipate them. So then there was Alien Spawn, Tiffany, who kind of replaced Angela because I believe at the time there was some, I think, legal dispute over who owned Angela because Neil Gaiman, I think he wrote like an issue of Spawn, and that's where he introduced Angela. So there was some dispute on who owned the character of Angela, whether it was Neil Gaiman or Mcfarland. But eventually in time, they'd both lose out because right now Angela belongs to Marvel. So, and then we have Chameleon Spawn. We have, I think that's Sansker. Battleclad Spawn. That's a great figure. If I could find Battleclad Spawn, like mint on card, I definitely want that. The Freak, and then we have Super Patriot. And if I remember correctly, Super Patriot was a character created by comic book artist Eric Larson for his Savage Dragon comic, I think. And then underneath that, we had the very popular Wetworks line of action figures. This was based off of Will Spartacio's Image comic book, and eventually it jumped. Was it Wildstorm? Wildstorm would eventually leave Image a couple years later, and then they'd produce books for Marvel during Heroes Reborn. But here are Wils's characters from Wetworks. There was Delta Commander, Assassin 1, Pilgrim, Frankenstein, Blood Queen, and Mendoza. So these were Series 2. Series 1 was super hot. I remember so many people wanted Series 1. And lastly, we have Total Chaos. Some of these figures were pretty neat. Like, I like the Al Simmons a lot. And it's kind of funny because looking back at it, Al Simmons, the design, it almost kind of looks like a precursor to like Master Chief from Halo. Oh, what's crazy is Hoof. So right now you can actually find a Hoof action figure at Walmart. Walmart has those weird Mcfarland like animal giant sized action figures. There was that shark. They made a dragon. I think they had a version of Cygor. And I remember I was there at Walmart like last week, and they had like a giant Hoof action figure. So if you're wondering where Hoof came from, you know, here's his origin right there. And this comes with a little bio card for Widowmaker. I say this all the time. I wish all action figures would give you a bio card on the back of the package. Yeah, so this is neat. You know, this is around the time when the internet started catching on. You know, www.spawn.com. Alright, so this kind of wraps up this video. Yeah, so this was kind of a small toy haul. But I just wanted to share this with you. I don't have any plans to open up any of these action figures. I have a small display on one of my walls that has, you know, this style of Spawn package. So, you know, Widowmaker's going to have a nice home. But I'm really just stoked to have a Venture price tag. I know it sounds weird, but that's just how my weird brain functions. Alright, so let's wrap this video up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning subscriber or viewer, thank you so much for your continued likes, comments, and support. I greatly appreciate it. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. Alright, later.